All right, we are back for another one. Today we're talking about effective inventory management. Arvin, how are you doing?
Really good.
Yeah,
Really good. Yeah.
cool. So inventory management, obviously very important. Hopefully by the time this video is out, we're most of the way through Q4 already. So hopefully Q4 has gone well and you haven't run out of stock. But in terms of inventory management, so we're talking mainly for FBA products, although we can certainly talk about FBM too. But what are just general guidelines? Like what do you recommend to people or to clients in general in terms of managing their inventory, just from an Amazon standpoint? I know that's a very broad question.
Yeah, it's a very broad question, but I mean, to me, it is having an effective strategy for managing your inventory is really important,
Mhm.
especially when you're selling on Amazon, regardless if it is FBA or FBM. Because I mean, if you ran out of stock, you have nothing to sell, and then if you have nothing to sell, then therefore your product ranking will go down.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you have enough inventory to sell on Amazon to make sure that whatever you started will could continue increasing or growing because you
Yeah.
have competition. Like the moment, maybe a day or two that you run out of stock, your competitor can take advantage of that and take that spot, like the ranking from you.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's why it is important to that you're managing your inventory and making sure that you're reordering from your manufacturer on time.
Yeah. So we've always talked about it, but when you run out of inventory on Amazon, you're not only, it's not just a, hey, I'm out of inventory, I'm not making any sales. That's one part of it. But in addition to that, you're also losing your best selling rank
Mhm.
every single minute that your listing is down. On top of that, your competitors are getting ahead of you. And the one that I always bring up is you're actually undoing all the hard work you've done to get to that point. If you've been spending, let's say, the last 6 months trying to rank for a certain keyword using your advertising or off Amazon SEO or whatever, all of that work is also being undone. So all the hard earned dollars, the hours, all that stuff. And so that's to me one of the most important kind of arguments for why inventory management is extremely important.
Mhm.
What are some general guidelines that you normally give to people in terms of, like, let's say you're like, here's what I'm thinking with this is normally we say, hey, if you generally want to use FBA most of the time, obviously it totally depends, but we normally advise most sellers that they should probably have a backup kind of FBM SKU or
Yeah.
yeah, live in their account just in case that FBA one goes out of stock or starts running low. Are
Yeah.
there any other kind of tips like that you recommend?
Well, what I'm usually doing when I'm working with sellers is to actually predict the number of inventory that they need. Yeah, using inventory planning. The things that you have to consider is the amount of lead time that you need, meaning the amount of days that your manufacturer need to actually produce the item. Then you have to also consider the shipping time. So let's say, for example, it takes them 30 days to manufacture it, then you have to also add another 15 days, for example. Like, for example, your manufacturer is just based in the USA, and then another 15 days to ship it from their warehouse to Amazon. But if it will be different, if it is, let's say, your manufacturer is in China, so you have to have a higher number of days. Plus, aside from the lead time, you have to also consider the safety stock because there will be issues. There will be manufacturing delays because they ran out of raw materials or manpower to produce your product.
So that's just a buffer.
Yeah,
Pretty much
but
that's like, yeah, your buffer.
it
Okay.
depends on, let's say you want it to be 30 days equivalent or even 15 days equivalent. So at least if, let's say, there will be delay, even shipping delays or customs issues, then you have enough inventory in your warehouse to actually continue selling it on Amazon.
Yeah.
So yeah, what I usually do is predict the inventory based on the current demand. So I will run the orders report and group it into the sales of the last 30 days, last 60 days, and 90 days for me to determine how much is the average daily sales.
Hmm.
And if am able to determine the average daily sales, then I will multiply it to the amount of lead time.
Yeah.
So let's say the lead time is 60 days and the average daily sales is, let's say, 5 units. So that would mean I need to have to say 300, if I'm not working at 300 units in my warehouse in Amazon, or maybe in my own warehouse or in Amazon. Plus I have to add, or I need to add additional 30 days of safety stock if I decide to have 30 days additional inventory. Then therefore I need to have another 150 units. If my inventory in Amazon, let's say, for example, using the same numbers that I gave you, 600 plus 150 would be 750. If my inventory in my warehouse and in Amazon is already 750, then that's the time that I should be contacting my manufacturer and say, hey, please produce this much number of units. Let's say, for example, you want to have 2 months worth of inventory, or maybe 6 months worth of inventory. Then you just have to tell your manufacturer to do so.
Yeah.
So yeah, just making sure that you have inventory by predicting it. But also you have to consider what are the things that you will do to actually sell your product. Plus, also you have to also consider the events, like for example Prime Day. So therefore, you will need more inventory, or even the holidays.
Plus just growth, right? Like
Yeah.
your general growth.
So yeah, there's a lot of things when it comes to effective inventory management. It also depends on the products that has seasonality.
Sure.
So yeah, it's really interesting topic to discuss. There's a lot more to consider. Plus me, because I have like an experience with forecasting, because it's something that I really love. I love spreadsheets, so I really love to work with numbers.
Yeah. So I guess two kind of points. Well, or one question is, have you found any tools that you'd consider decent at helping with this, or good at helping? Or I know I think we talked about it in a previous video on inventory, but you're more of an Excel guy, so we know that that's your preferred method. But have you seen any tools that help quite a bit with this, or do you normally just use business reports and plus Excel?
Yeah, there's a lot of tools actually. I know Helium 10 can do it. Other tools as well, like even Amazon, they have their own tools.
Yeah.
I just prefer doing it manually, because there are, like for example, there are sellers that have their own specific quirks on their products,
Sure.
so that I can consider or factor that in predicting. But don't get me wrong, the tools are actually, I mean, the tools out there are doing really well in predicting the numbers. But it's just happy you just need to add like a human touch.
Yeah, we've also used Seller Board before, which does not do the forecasting element, but it does help with aggregating data in one clear place. So there's tools you can use that also help for various components. But I think like with any brand, once you get to a certain point, it's you kind of have to either find an extremely robust tool or build out a solution for yourself. Oftentimes that's going to be like, well, I don't want to say Google Sheets because I think that'll upset a lot of people. It's normally going to be an Excel. You're building out a forecasting model of some kind.
Yeah, there's a lot of tools out there. I just can't recommend one, because I don't particularly use one. Because I mean, I built a spreadsheet with just me downloading the report from Amazon, and then copy pasting it, and then it will automatically calculate the projection. And then I also built with the team a dashboard, which is using the Looker Studio to help me predict the data in a more visually appealing data.
Should we do something for the people watching? What do you think?
Yeah, we can do that.
So what about if you have like questions about this, or maybe you want some help, maybe we could give them like a template. I don't know if you've already gotten kind of a basic template, but maybe if they reach out on LinkedIn is probably the easiest place. Reach out to Arvin or myself. What do you think? Can we do that?
Yeah, we can do that.
Cool.
I have some templates.
So if you need some help with just getting started, reach out to Arvin or myself on LinkedIn, or we're more than happy. Well, I don't want to say we because it's him. Arvin's more than happy to give you maybe access to a basic template that you can use. So anything else that you want to add in terms of inventory? Again, I know this is a much, much broader subject, right? There's people that this is their full-time job. But anything else you want to add on that?
I think I covered what I really want to discuss and share about the inventory management, but there's a lot more to talk about. I think it will just be too complicated, and the video will be a bit longer.
So if you're watching and you have specific questions, also let us know in the comments on YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever you're watching this, and maybe we can make a follow-up video about it.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right.